Welcome to North Norfolk's deep history coast. 36 kilometres of unique coastline following the Norfolk Coast Path from Weybourne in the northwest to Cart Gap in the southeast. Deep history coast isn't just crammed full of ancient animal fossils, it's really famous for the archaeology that it holds. And I'm here with Dr. John Davis, who just so happened to come up with the idea of deep history coast with me. John, you've brought me here to Weybourne Beach and we're looking out over the sea, but not so long ago this would have looked very different, wouldn't it?
Yes, Dave. In archaeological terms, it's only very recently indeed that we would have been looking out on a landscape as opposed to expanses of water here. I think that looking out we really get a feel of the expanse of the landscape which would have been here as recently as 8,500 years ago. The North Sea lay somewhere over to our left in that direction, but looking straight ahead here you could have stood up and walked all the way connected to continental Europe, across Europe itself and right the way across Asia.
So what would this landscape have looked like, say, over 10,000 years ago, and who would be living here?
Well, what we had here was a very mature landscape, Dave. It was forested, ancient forest by that stage. There was also grassland, there were great lakes and estuaries, and recent archaeological work has actually begun to map that, where we know where the trenches were, where the great estuaries were, and that research is going on as we speak. It would have been inhabited by vast herds of creatures, deer, reindeer, mammoth at times, and we're talking about a period of hundreds of thousands of years, so the fauna that inhabited here changed very much over that time.
So I suppose in lots of ways this is like a British version of the Serengeti, but instead of wildebeest and zebra and antelope you had maybe bison and giant deer.
Indeed, Dave, and I think that is one of the lovely things about sitting on the north coast here, that you do get a sense of that, and there are lots of elevated locations around this expanse of beach where you actually do get that atmosphere of what it originally looked like.
Much of North Norfolk bears the scars of thousands of years of glacial activity during the last ice age, and this is true of the area around Salthouse. However, long after the ice age receded, people used the area as a sacred site to bury their dead. John, you've brought us here to beautiful Salthouse Heath, but what exactly is the archaeology here?
Where we are at the moment, hidden amongst the trees, are some very early prehistoric monuments which we call round barrows. And these round barrows were long-lived, and they were current during the later Neolithic and Bronze Age periods.
So, I mean, what is a round barrow and how old are they in years?
Okay, well, a round barrow is essentially a burial mound, and the ones here on Salthouse Heath, they were initially constructed around about 2800 BC. Remarkably, this particular cemetery we know remained in use for about 2,000 years, right through the Bronze Age, which is absolutely extraordinary.
So we're actually sitting on an ancient cemetery?
We are. Although they're hidden today, they were in a very visible location, high up on the ridge, so people could have seen them for a long way around, and it would have been a focus for the local community to come and venerate their dead here.
North Norfolk isn't just special because of its Stone Age and Bronze Age archaeology. The Romans left their mark here too. At Granborough Hill, near Salthouse, the platform of a Roman signal station has been preserved.
Well, Dave, we're looking at sites of different periods, but I've always associated the North Norfolk coast with important Roman archaeology. What we're sitting next to here is the remains of a major platform which they constructed some 1700 years ago.
Hey, John, you're going to have to paint a picture for me here. You know that if it's not measured in millions of years, I don't know a lot about it. So what are we looking at here?
Absolutely, Dave, and it doesn't actually look that startling when we actually look at this mound. But 1700 years ago, the Romans constructed this artificial platform here. It had a flat top, as it has today, but on top of that superstructure, there was a very elaborate major building that they constructed on the top, and that was originally a watchtower. It sent signals and received signals from other similar sites located around the north coast and dipping down to the eastern coast of what is now Norfolk. And it was a system known as the Saxon Shore, and it connected some of the major fort sites like Borough Castle and Caister-on-Sea in the east, Brancaster in the north, and if there was any disturbance of any sort, the watchtowers served to connect with the military authorities which were located at the forts.
Right. So, I mean, what were the Romans actually doing in this part of North Norfolk? And I suppose, were they keeping an eye on the locals?
This system was actually looking outwards towards the sea. We were looking for the coastal raiding that was going on, and the Romans needed to curb that. Roman trade was the lifeblood of the local economy, therefore they had to safeguard that. So no, they were protecting the eastern seaboard from raiders from abroad.
It is perhaps the Iron Age that Norfolk is most associated with when it comes to archaeology. After all, Boudicca and the Iceni tribe are synonymous with the county. Warham Camp between Wells next the sea and Wiverton has some spectacular views of the countryside, but I suspect that John's interested in it for far more than just a nice view. John, Warham Camp is pretty stunning, but knowing you, there must be something else there. What are we talking about? Iron Age?
Yes, it is Iron Age, Dave. Warham Camp is a spectacular site. It's actually my favourite archaeological site in the county. It has wonderful earthworks. They are the best preserved prehistoric earthworks in this part of the country. Spectacular ditches and banks. It is what we term a hill fort, unfortunately, because that term can be very misleading. I don't believe for 1 minute that it ever functioned as a fort, but it does belong to the Iron Age and was probably constructed around 2,000 years ago.
So we visited a Roman signal station which was used as a sort of watchtower. How is a hill fort different from that, and who would have used it?
Well, Dave, it's a very different sort of monument, although we are talking essentially an earthwork. But hill forts were a form of structure that one finds right the way across Britain. What we have at Warham is a modest size earthwork in national terms. People would have come together and used this for fairs, markets and that sort of thing, and for religious purposes. This is a sort of territorial marker, a symbol of power by the local tribespeople, and it was a sort of statement, keep away, this is our area, this is our power base, our territory.
So was the hill fort used for defence as well as for keeping a lookout?
No, I think it's very unfortunate we use the term fort because there's no evidence that it was ever used in warfare at all. It was an earthwork, it was very large and imposing on the landscape, and it would have been visible from a long way around, as well as being defensible, but it was more of a statement of power.
John, we've explored just a small area of North Norfolk's deep history coast, but you've managed to take us all the way from the late Stone Age to the Roman period.
Yes, we're extremely fortunate. This part of Norfolk is exceptionally rich in all archaeological periods. In terms of portable finds, little things that people are likely to find around them, or with metal detector, Norfolk is the richest part of the whole country in those terms. More objects are found here than any other part of Britain.
Thanks for taking me on this little trip, John. I mean, there's history just everywhere you look in North Norfolk, and I certainly won't look at a ditch in the same way again. You know, once you know what you're looking for, there's archaeology everywhere, isn't there?
There certainly is, Dave. The archaeology of North Norfolk is exceptionally rich, backed up by the museums, of course, as well. And I think it's very important people come here and explore it for themselves, and you must sample it and really enjoy it and explore it, and it's the richest of experiences.
Explorers are welcome here. What are you waiting for? You may be the discoverer of the next big thing on North Norfolk's deep history coast.